Now we come to a subject that we have touched a little bit in our previous presentation, but not now in a very specific way, but also a very important subject. Marko Huttunen and Juulia Mikkola from Finland will talk about natural ventilation. Please.
Thank you, Henry. And also, thank you very much, Ulrika and Tina, what you told about the legislation in Sweden that covers pretty much Finland as well. So we don't need to go through all that, but a little bit about the legislation anyway on ventilation in Finland at the moment. So I could say that, well, maybe first this graph here. What I mean when I'm talking about natural ventilation is the ventilation system based on stack effect. And that means that the air starts to flow when there is a difference in pressure. And the difference is made with the difference in temperature and height. So simple as that. And that kind of system has been used in Finland until 1950s. And it had developed quite for a very good system. And then it was forgotten for some decades, and now it's coming back again. And the benefits of this system is considered so high that what we have here, that maybe Sweden did not have, we have this heat recovery requirement, 0% for natural ventilation, because it's otherwise considered such a good system. And then there's some little bit more legislation. So if you are doing a renovation in your building and it needs a permission, and if you have an extension, that you can still use the old system of the original house, and you probably need to show that the ventilation is working, but that's all. And no heat recovery requirement for the extension either. This graph here shows the buildings in Helsinki. And if you look at the black curve, it tells you how much buildings have been built in each decade. And you can see that the most buildings we have are built in 1950s, 60s, 70s. And if you look at the colors, they are telling like how much energy they actually use. So that's not calculated, that's the real use. And what you can read there is that these buildings that we have most also use most energy. And if you look at the kind of like the heritage buildings, they actually are quite energy efficient already. And we are reaching that energy efficiency just now again. So they are quite good. And natural ventilation is surprisingly energy efficient. And I guess that it lies on the fact that when the cool, fresh air, it makes the users turn the valves down, resulting in more appropriate ventilation. And this kind of control by the occupants also leads to enhanced comfort, which is of course very important as well. Whereas in mechanical supply exhaust system, unnecessarily high airflows are usually not noticed. Benefits of natural ventilation, they are many. But, and you can look at them there. I won't go through them. We think that energy efficiency should be also considered as a question of long service life and resilience. And I think, like we all know, a long-lasting building is always ecological. And like the longevity, fault tolerance, and maintainability must never be compromised. Whereas in mechanical ventilation systems, they often function incorrectly, need constant professional maintenance, and remain short-lived. And for these reasons, when we design houses, especially or when we are designing dwellings or residential buildings, we use only natural ventilation because we find designing mechanical ventilation irresponsible in these cases. Designing natural ventilation requires expertise, but luckily there is a wide range of positive experience, good examples, and now also some handbooks. And now I let Julia go to our topic, restoring heritage homes with natural ventilation.
Thank you, Marko. Here we can see the first example, a log building built as a private villa, and then after 10 years turned into a boarding school for girls, having quite strict rules, and then getting the name Klostret, meaning a cloister. And after the war, the house was turned into teachers' apartments, and it was damaged in a fire in 2011. And then renovated. And the house was listed in the town plan, and hence the responsible museum gave a statement saying that there must be a thorough inventory of the house, but that didn't happen. Instead, the house was stripped of all the layers that there were, and the chimneys that had only lost some plaster in the fire, they were cut down under the roof level because the insurance company was sure that the house was to have mechanical ventilation. And here we can see how the house was originally and how it looked after the fire. And we had some problems with the permit officials because they were at first saying that this is a new building when it's repaired. And then we sent them some paragraphs of the law and they agreed that it's a case of repair. And the principle in ventilation was that we kept the original room by room system and improved it by making new openings on the walls, taking care that every room got enough supply air. And we were aiming at having old-fashioned or traditional flap vents in every room, but there were some rooms that were under the mansard roof where it was more difficult to have vents. So we used the windows as a kind of supply window system, leaving out pieces of window seal. And you can see how the system was originally. Every room had a fireplace. And when the house got central heating, of course, some of the fireplaces were taken down, but some were still left. And the traditional way is to have only one flue for every room except kitchens. And here we can see in the drawing the principle of a fireplace used also for exhaust air. The fireplace has double draught diverters and a vent for air in the upper part of the oven. And the flap vents used for the renovation were new, but at the time we couldn't buy proper exhaust vents, so the ones we used were recycled from older buildings. And on the right you can see what was done with the flues. The chimneys that were bricked up again were using the old shape and the principle of directing the wind so that there would be as little downdraft as possible. And the flues were to have pits that collect rubbish and rainwater. With the floor plans, we tried to combine all the rooms that were divided earlier to make good-sized rooms, having an old brick flue for every room. And we also made sure that we were using every flue there was already in the building. And for bathrooms and such, we had to build new lightweight flues. And here you can see drawings of the chimneys and the chimney stacks. And since this was a case of repair, we didn't have to follow the fire regulations exactly, because the old thin partition walls in the chimney stacks had proved to be fire safe over 100 years. And here we can see the fireplaces that were and still are part of the ventilation system. Most were repaired. One was damaged so badly that it was replaced with an old fireplace. And because the house had been stripped of all layers, there were only small remnants. And then we tried to create the feeling, imagining what might have been there in the house originally. This is the second example. It's a stone house, built a bit earlier, finished in 1880. It was built by a wealthy merchant to be his home and to have a shop in the corner and a restaurant and a wine shop in the cellar. And the house went through a lot of changes in the 20th century. And 1959, it was turned into a department store. And all the windows were changed. You can see it looked quite different. And then it got, luckily, a new owner that wanted to make it apartments. Again, it had been like office space and shop before that. And it was renovated thoroughly, having, again, natural ventilation. Here we can see the floor plans, and in this case, we were building back the walls that had been there because the spaces had been more opened than divided. And the old chimneys were rebuilt to create, again, a room-by-room system. And this house originally had no inlets, so they had to be made for every room. And the shop was designed to be also to be able to work as a wine bar for 30 people. So the business space has 6 flues and 6 inlets. And at this phase, we were able to use new vents and grills. And the exhaust vent looks exactly the same because it's made after a tradition, but it's completely new. It's of cast iron. And then close to the ground level, we used cast aluminium grills that look quite much as the old ones that would have been of cast iron. On the left, you can see a traditional Z-shaped air supply. This kind of opening in the wall is easy to make when you're bricking up the building, but when you're working with an old existing wall, you have to drill the holes so they look a bit different. And in the building, there was a corner where there had been an enlargement that and the corner had been demolished, and there we could make one of these old-fashioned type of inlets, but all the others were drilled on the facades. And here you can see how it happened with a huge machine having diamond blades. And there are many phases. First, there is the round hole, then you make it rectangular in the inside and on the outside, and make some patches and render it, and then assemble new grills and vents. And here we see the original system not having any proper inlets, or actually the windows in the old-fashioned way, they were working as inlets because there were no synthetic window sills. So every room got supply air through the window, either sort of unintentionally or by opening the window. And when the house was turned to a department store, it got mechanical ventilation, having only exhaust. And at the time, most of the chimneys were taken down, so there were only 6 left when we started to plan. And the remaining chimneys were in very bad shape, and the original crowns had been taken down and replaced with a concrete slab. And again, we designed a room-by-room system, flues and intakes in every room, and built back chimneys so that now we have 15 chimneys in the building. And the old flues were studied carefully. The green color shows which part might have been used again. Mostly they were in rather bad shape. And for cost effectiveness, it was decided not to use red brick, which was my first intention. Instead, we used lightweight concrete flue blocks. And of course, we had to brick up the chimneys again. Here you can see the flue blocks built in the house. First, there was space for them cut in the walls, and then they were bricked up, coming through the walls. And then for the attic and for the roof, they had to get red brick cover or a mantle. And because of the different shapes of the stacks, there were many different combinations used. And because of the fire regulations, the chimneys were plastered in the attic if they had fireplaces. And in the windows, we used modern and traditional techniques. For south and southeast facades, we were having insulation glasses all over the house. That's modern and not something that I'm specifically fond of, but still it improves the comfort inside the house during cold seasons. And then we were using traditional health windows on the sunny sides, and also electric canopies with automatic electric, how do you say it? Wind sensors, to make it sure that they won't break in the wind. And so this house was also restored from ruins to be used as apartments for maybe another 140 years or so. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia and Marko. Do we have any question right away? Yeah.
I have one question. It concerns the one, Marko, you were showing, the amount of energy being used for the buildings. The numbers were very small, and was it it wasn't heat? Was that only for the ventilation, running the ventilation for the heat? But then it's really low numbers.
Yes, the numbers are from Helsinki area energy company, and so the numbers are like what was the year of the? But that's the numbers that they know from the 2012, something like that. So
it's the actual energy consumption. Yeah.
It shouldn't be a big concern then.
No. Well, it shouldn't be, but of course we have the pressure to change all the traditional buildings as well as, I suppose, in everywhere, except Ireland maybe. Is it Ireland? I think they have the most enlightened way of thinking, because they don't care about whether it's listed or not, but if it's a traditional building or not. And then there are different regulations.
I just wanted to say it's absolutely stunning work. That needs to be much more widely known, and I will do my best to make sure it is.
Why, thank you so much.